Why do I need to do everything for you? I'm so confused. How did you survive 70 plus years of your life where I never made decisions for you, but now all of a sudden I have to? It's baffling. It's extremely stressful.
Welcome to Aging Parent Trap X podcast and YouTube channel. I am Allison Newland, broker owner of Platinum Properties of Florida in the greater Tampa area. And I'm joined here today with my friends and colleagues, Nikki Flynn with Elite Preparation Services and Julie Cook with Generational Transitions. And today we are talking about the day Gen Xers became parents. And I do not mean parents. I mean the parent of our actual parent. It is happening to us and we don't even see it coming. And that's what we're talking about today. And I'm going to let one of you guys jump in and talk about it because I know that some people in this group are actually experiencing it right now.
Wonder who that is.
I don't know.
Yes, it's true. When people used to say like when they get older and they revert back in age, and
Mhm.
I never actually thought that was a thing. My grandparents never did that, at
Mm.
least not that I remember. So I never really thought anything of it. But oh, let me tell you, it is a thing. It's a thing. A very, very, very big thing. It's almost to a point where you're like, is why can't you think for yourself? Why can't you make a decision? Why do I need to do everything for you? I'm so confused. How did you survive 70 plus years of your life where I never made decisions for you, but now all of a sudden I have to? It's baffling. It's extremely stressful.
It's stressful. And so that kind of what that looked like for you is that you were living in Florida, mom and dad living out to the west in Nevada, right?
Mhm.
And then there were some concerns and she wanted to come and be closer to you so that you could help her, right?
Yeah, well, it was her medical diagnosis that really triggered that.
So you thought, okay, well, come here, we'll get you here and then we'll get you into your own place, right?
Yep, that was the game plan. But diagnosis aside, that still kind of was the game plan. But as my husband keeps telling me, it's time for me to have a reality check because there is just no way I think that if anything were to happen to my mom, that my stepdad would actually live on his own. It
R-
just
r-
wouldn't happen.
hmm.
And I mean, as of right now, she's in delusional world. I don't know what planet she's on, but she's not on planet Earth. And her diagnosis is not good. So, I mean, we're kind of just trying to keep her comfortable and biding time and going through treatments and stuff. And my stepdad he's delusional too. He, for some reason, just he's in the I don't want to talk about it because then it might be real kind of thing.
Uh,
But I don't. He's actually said, no, I'm not moving out of here. Like, I'm just going to stay living with you guys. And it's like, okay. But I honestly do think that there's no chance in the world that he could live by himself. He's too much of a social person that if that were to happen, he would significantly decline. So I think it's just going to be up to me and my stepsister to kind of rotate back and forth because she's got my nephew. It's just
mhm.
my husband and I. We have puppies. We don't have actual children. She's got my nephew. So that kind of gives meaning and gives purpose. That is a thing. Like people need to understand they need purpose. They need to feel wanted. They need to feel loved. They need to feel responsible. They need to feel worthy. And it's like if we take out the trash, he gets offended because that's his job. And then if we're taking responsibility from him, he feels like he's not worthy and he's not holding his weight in the house. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like, assigning chores and assigning responsibility, but having to keep in mind what he can physically do. But you start to see a little bit of a mental decline. There's a lot of responsibility to having them under your roof 24/7
And there's
to
guilt
where
though. There's guilt there though as well, right, Nikki? Because
uh,
you're sharing here with us, and we always say, can't laugh about it, you cry about it, and there's probably been plenty of tears, I'm
oh yeah.
sure. And we try and keep things, at least, I mean, we're able to talk about things in a way that with each other that we're not with our parents, 'cause we don't wanna hurt their feelings or whatever, but, the guilt of feeling like you do because there's, a part that says, "Gosh, why do I feel this way?" Even though, because you still wanna live your life,
Mhm.
that you had planned. This is like throwing a wrench into
Oh yeah.
maybe what you and your husband had planned. You have fur babies, you said, and, not, people children, but I mean, dogs I have both. But, you gotta make plans for traveling with both of like,
Mhm.
if you had, "Oh, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go there, we're gonna do this," now it's all just stopped because now who stays back and looks after the folks, that now live with you, right?
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot
Guilt,
more that
anger.
goes into yeah, all of it, all of it. And it's a challenge to navigate through. But of course, when you're trying to plan things and think of things like you have, yeah, this is my goal, this is my mindset, this is where things are going to end up, and then reality sets in, and it's like, yeah, no, we got different plans. This is actually how things are going to go. And it's like, okay, well, you just have to kind of adjust to it. But even like today, my husband and I went to the doctors and met with our new primary care. And he was like, it is not easy to be a caretaker. And I was like,
Mm-mm.
thank you. I understand. And he's like, and you're juggling not only being a caretaker, but also being a wife and also being a business owner. So you've got a lot on your plate. And when do you do you? And that is the number one thing that I don't do anymore. I don't do me. I take me out of the equation because I have to give to everybody else. And
Everybody
that's
else.
the worst thing that you can do.
And that causes more stress on you, which can make you ill.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I don't think Gen Xers, I don't know, or just even anybody just really realize, you hear that. Maybe you don't know that you're going at 100 miles an hour all the time trying
Mhm.
to think about everybody else, and then you just collapse, and it's yours. What about, you, Julie?
I think what Nikki is saying is so true. The emotions involved with all of this, when you take the fact that you've been the child for so long and now you kind of have to parent your parent, which is difficult because there's probably, hopefully, a level of respect there. There's some dignity that you want your parents to maintain. On the other
Mhm.
hand, if they're making decisions that are not safe for
Mm,
them, be unwise
Mhm.
for them, maybe they're like in this case, there's a medical situation that's kind of that's demanding changes. It's really tricky to navigate. So I think the first thing that's very valid to discuss is all the emotions attached to it. The frustration, the anger, the guilt, the I didn't sign up for this. This isn't the way things are supposed to go. Because
right.
I think we've talked about before, normally, okay, so in my head, parents live till, I don't know, 70, maybe 80. But like we talked about on the previous episode, now you've got folks living because we have great health care into their 90s plus, which is a beautiful thing. On the flip side, it also creates for the kids situations that they didn't plan on. And
And
so,
didn't witness, because their
yeah,
parents didn't have
Mhm.
their parents living with them in the house, or them having to go to, the assisted living, or the what, it just wasn't a thing.
Mhm.
yeah. And I think a lot of Gen Xers feel guilty because it's like, what do I do with this? I wasn't expecting this. And so then they kind of start to feel selfish, which is a valid emotion, but not accurate, because it's okay to say, I didn't sign up for this. I've got to deal with it. And that's where I think the acceptance comes in. With the acceptance, it's like, you know what? Mom and dad are probably not going to go back to the way I remember them being. They're going to continue to age and continue to progress. So that's the acceptance of it. But then it's the importance of who can I pull in to help? Because as a caretaker, Nikki's speaking to this firsthand, you can't carry the entire weight of it. It's too much. You don't have any time for you. And you has to be on your A game because you've got such a full plate. So I think when we talk about parenting your parents, then who can I bring in to support? Is it a professional? Is it home health maybe that can come in for a couple of hours? Is there another family member that can come in to assist? What can I do to try and get a little bit of me time so I can breathe?
So So, Julie, so you help people find senior living facilities, independent, assisted, memory care. But what
Mhm.
isn't there? And this is might be a silly question, but isn't there even like adult care, like daycare? I mean, we're talking about being our parents' parents,
Mhm.
right? Um, but like even for Nikki's stepdad, I mean, right now is not the time, obviously, because he wants to be with your mom, I'm sure. But like for him to have a social thing, maybe it's not official daycare, but I don't know. Do you help people with that? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, I'm familiar with those, because a lot of times I'll network with them because they'll be able to know firsthand, somebody who's borderline in an unsafe environment. You know, right now they're
Mm.
coming because they need to get out of the house, they need socialization, the caretakers need a break, but then in some cases, it's like, okay, now they need more than just the socialization. But
Mm.
there is that option. So, similar, it's usually called an adult day center is normally referenced similar to
But
that.
it's not really for seniors, though, is it? It's more for people
Yeah,
that have other. Oh, it
Mhm.
is for seniors. Okay,
yeah,
because I know
100%
I was thinking as you're talking, I'm like, I know people who have like other challenges, perhaps
right,
too, but.
right. No, you're right. There is that for folks who have other perhaps disabilities, but they do have those for seniors as well, and it would be, I guess the best way I can describe it is you take assisted living and take all the activities that happen during the
Yeah,
day, take that, but then they get to go home at night, whether home
right.
is to their own home or with their caregiver. So they've got the socialization, they've got the meals, they're getting out, the caregiver's getting a break, and then, but it's not full time. So
Yeah.
it's a nice in between option.
Yeah, I haven't seen very much of that. That wouldn't be really for my mom, but I was at the assisted living facility where my mom lives on Sunday because my in-laws also live there. And my husband's parents are both still alive and they're in their mid to late 80s now, right? And they live there. And so it was Father's Day brunch, lunch, whatever, and my husband said he was going. And I said, let me tag along. I have something for my mom to sign, and she wants me to do some things at the inner room. And oh gosh. So, just so I did my duties, but it's just I know why my mom has such a hard time, by the way, at the facility because she's so bossy and so damn bossy, like not in a good way. And there's not a lot of conversation. I don't know. I think it's just the way that she was raised. I'll try and talk to her about something and then she'll just tell me to do something, and doesn't ask any follow-up questions. That's been the story of my life for a very long time. So I'm not surprised by it. I try every time. But the point being is that um I was in the cafeteria dining area is a better way to describe it. And there was another family. So it was a daughter and her mom and dad. And I mean, the mom was probably in better health than the dad, but the daughter really talked to her dad like he was a child, like he was a child. Dad, do you want to have the same soup that you had last time? I mean, I could barely. And she was, I know he probably had some hearing issues, but Dad, sit here. I mean, she really talked to him like he was a baby. And I felt a certain way about it. And I know nothing about them. I don't know their history. And I was practically sitting behind my mother. And they're probably like, what's that coop doing, not sitting right next to her mom? Talk to me at all during the meal. I didn't eat with her, but I swear she didn't talk to me the whole time. I mean, so they were probably like, what's that woman? She's obviously her daughter. What is she doing sitting behind her? Not even at the table. So, I mean, I don't know. We all have our things, I guess. But was the child, the actual daughter talking to her dad like he was a baby. Oh, okay. Here's something. When my mom was still in her house. And I was going down probably every 2 weeks or so with one of my kids to check on her and see how she was doing. She was uh, she was upset because the neighbor stopped wanting to help. He was a bachelor who lived two doors down, and she would like to just put her garbage out on like her front porch, And she thought that because he took a walk at 6 o'clock in the morning, that it wasn't a big deal for him to just grab that bag of garbage and put it in the garbage can, right? And at first, it doesn't sound like that's too big of a deal for a neighbor. It's a neighborly thing to do, right? Except for she kept asking him to do more and more and more and more and more stuff. And so the one time I went down there and she was just really, she's like, Paul's just not being very nice. He's not, he's not helping me anymore. And I went down, I had a conversation with Paul, and Paul said, I did this with my own parents. I don't want to do it with your mom. And I said, I get it, and I went and told her, I said, Mom, you have to understand he has his own life. Well, he doesn't have anything, but she felt entitled to his services. And she said to me, you're treating me like a child, Allison. And I don't think that was as much about me as it was about her losing her independence, right? So, I remember that moment. It made me feel bad, but I had to just I'm kind of a straight shooter and I just say it instead of beating around the bush. I'm polite about it, but at some point in time, you just have to say, you can't ask the neighbor to keep doing that. He says no more, and so loss of independence is a thing that we see happen to our parents and they don't like it, but we don't have to talk to them like a baby,
And that's the big deal.
Mhm.
It's the loss of independence. For some parents, it would feel like the loss of dignity to have their
Yeah.
child, and you can or can't do that, but we've got to. So the way that it's said, and we're not always going to get it right because it's an awkward situation.
I
But
know I'm not.
yeah, but it has to be done. So I think if it's possible to make a decision where, or to word it where it sounds like it's their choice, their decision, so they're not being told, because even if you're taking over kind of the parental role, your parents not really going to want you to do that.
Yeah.
Not going to want, you're still their child, and so they're not going to want you to tell them what to do. So it takes a lot of finagling and making it, wording things to make it be like, oh, it's the parents' idea. You were just kind of throwing stuff out.
Do we
Easier
ever,
said than
sorry, but do we ever get to a point where our parent doesn't see us as a child,
I
and
wish.
like, so I mean, I don't want to say my exact age, but I'm over 50, right? And so, I can do what I want. I mean, what's that phrase? I'm a grown ass woman, right? Like I can do what I want, say what I want, whatever. Accept who I am as I am, but there's still that little bit of, gosh, what's mom going to think or what, or they treat like I'm still 15 years old or something, but I've
Mhm.
got this whole life. I have people older than 15 that I'm still responsible for, in my household. Uh, d- does it ever go away? Do we ever get
No,
rid of that? Do they ever treat us like, well, they're a grown up? Like maybe
I've
some
yet to
people
see
have
it.
more friendly relationships with their parents. I don't know.
I'm with Nikki. I would
Mm.
say no. It may get to where it's kind of a mutual friendship, but in my opinion, my dad is in his 80s, my stepmom is in her late 80s. I'm still, they appreciate who I am as a person, but I'm still very much the child. They're
The kid.
respectful, but
Hmm.
I'm always the child.
You're
Yeah,
the baby
my
girl.
mom
I'm the
told
baby
me
girl.
like it basically you'll always be my child. Oh, but I'm
Hmm.
not a child. I'm 45. I'm not a child. I'm way
Right.
past that stage.
I know. It's
So
it's hard.
I
It's
think
hard.
they
And
always see us like that.
I know I can see like we'll always see our kids as a child, but I I have almost a 30-year-old and I recognize that he's 30 and I tried very hard because of my experiences with my own mother not to do that with my own children. But
Yeah.
uh-huh.
but I wasn't the cool mom either. I wasn't like, "Oh yeah, hang out, have a beer or whatever at the house before you go out, with your friends to the football game." No, 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 no. We had rules, we had things, and I was strict that way. But as they're adults, they appreciate that I was like that then. But now we've morphed into a friendly relationship, I love that, and I hope that continues to go on, and I don't know, again, it's just about it's protecting our mental health, and I
Mhm.
hope that, as we are going through these situations and talking about them and sharing them, and please, if you're listening, if you're watching, share what you're going through because it does help people, it does. It helps people know that they're not alone in this situation. And maybe we gave you some ideas or maybe not of how to go through this process.